hour's time, we'll be talking to the Local Government Association to hear how they've coped with school places and if they've seen a shortage. Well, should we have a look at the front pages now?
Yes, which means I should have got them ready. Yeah, okay, well, let's start with the Sunday Telegraph. The plight of Maria Miller is featuring a lot of the papers this morning. Minister Miller must go is their main story. Her behaviour is incompatible with being in the cabinet and undermines the Prime Minister, says one cabinet minister.
And the Mail on Sunday has their own poll on this, saying 80% want the PM to axe Maria Miller, the Culture Secretary, which of course Simon was just talking about on the front of quite a lot of the papers this morning. Still a lot of pressure on her.
A story that we've been already talking about on breakfast. Supermarkets back in the dock over waste. This is the front page of The Independent. A report slams the repugnant scapegoating of farmers and failure to use power responsibly.
And quite a dramatic picture on the front of the Sun on Sunday here, and this is one of the Queen's Guards outside Buckingham Palace, who is pointing his rifle at a man which says he was ranting and trying to force his way into the palace. And this is the ceremonial soldier there with a bayonet. He broke royal protocol by dashing 50 yards to intervene with the problem there, which looks, of course, that it was solved without any harm.
Sunday Times featuring a photograph of the winning jockey, winning horse at yesterday's Grand National. We've already spoken to the jockey this morning here on breakfast. On the left there, a story about the Yes campaign in Scotland. The latest opinion poll suggesting that the poll is running neck and neck at the moment.
And also on the front cover of the papers this morning, Jermaine, the winner of The Voice. And if anyone saw it last night or will have seen that it was a very emotional night there for Jermaine. He's now got quite a massive record contract. Very lucky lad there. Well done to him.
Well, let's have a look in more detail, because with us now is the Revd Sally Hitchiner. Take us through what's caught your eye. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Hello.
So, what are you starting with?
Well, we're starting with a story about the Rwandan genocide. Tomorrow, Rwanda starts a period of mourning and remembrance of the genocide that happened just 20 years ago. It doesn't seem like that long ago to me, seeing all those terrible atrocities that were being committed. And they're commemorating it in part by a torch of remembrance being carried throughout their country, being carried by the young people as a symbol of sort of hope of going forward, as well as not forgetting what was in the past. And one of the things that really fascinates me about this is not just the remembrance of the terrible atrocities, but the potential for reconciliation. There's been so many acts of reconciliation throughout this country, and there was a report in the New York Times yesterday about the rituals that they've brought in, where someone who's committed atrocities against an individual will bring gifts, and their friends and family will go with them and bring gifts of food and beer sometimes as well, and will bow down in front of the person who they're begging for forgiveness from. And they're just desperately moving, these stories of just how hard it is to forgive and how much these people are often committed to that. So 20 years on, and signs of hope coming out there. And one of the things that fascinates me as well is that Rwanda is a very Christian country, and it was often the most regular churchgoers that were first to take up the machetes and fight against their neighbours. And the challenge for both for people who are moral and people of faith, that actually to realise that this doesn't protect us from feelings of radicalisation and extremism as well.
Interesting to see how many people are involved, as it's saying here that crowds gathered in silence in every village to watch the flames progress there. So it really was a massive thing for them.
Yeah, it's amazing to see what a country can achieve in 20 years, really.
Staying with the religious theme, because Andrew Gilligan's written in the Sunday Telegraph about the school in Birmingham, one parent who's not happy about what's happening there.
Well, this is the big question. How far should we allow religious people to go in their beliefs within our pluralist society? I'm a big fan of religious schools. I think there's a lot of good that can be done by people coming to education from a religious perspective. However, there does seem to be opportunities for extremism to pop in here, and this is one isolated case, I think, of where that can happen. There were reports of children not being able to celebrate Christmas, anti-Christian chants coming out, all pupils being expected to learn Arabic, which I don't think is such a bad thing. Why not learn Arabic if that's the culture that you're living in that area? But definitely the anti-Christian chanting, the sense of hate that can be spread there, which has been there've been allegations of it in this article. is something that is very important for us to watch, and important that we actually use religion and use religious perspectives in education to build tolerance and build understanding, and to create communities of multi-faith groups, even if they're coming at it from one religious perspective.
Well, is this something the Church of England should be doing?
We do. I mean, we have thousands of Church of England schools all across the UK.
But in response to stories like that?
In terms of creating opportunities for dialogue and understanding, I do think that's important. I think it's important whatever your religious perspective is, even if you're a hardcore Richard Dawkins atheist. It's desperately important that we promote tolerance and understanding, and especially among our young people, that we encourage education about all religions, even if we believe one religion is the right way forward. And I think that's something that faith schools can do particularly well in terms of encouraging understanding for all faiths, not just one.
Big story in the Sunday Times this morning about fertility treatment and the number of single women taking that option now, isn't there?
There is, and it's increasing. There are increasing numbers of women who have not found the right person for their lives, but are still wanting to go forward and have children. And I think that's a very positive thing, that, you know, women these days are not necessarily having to fit within any particular stereotype of being the 2.4 children and the sort of Mr. Right. And definitely, I was talking to a friend of mine recently who's adopting. She's a single woman in her 30s and is adopting. And I would want to really push that, as well as IVF, as being a really positive thing way forward. There's so many children out there that desperately need homes already they're already within care, and the opportunities for all of us to consider that as an option is very important.
It's interesting, this idea, isn't it, about the catalogue. I'm just reading here about the lady who's actually in this article and saying that she had a catalogue and kind of picked the details of the man that she wanted to be the father. So 6'2", hazel eyes, has a dog and a good sense of humour. I mean, that's quite specific.
It is quite specific, and it's amazing what you can do with IVF actually as well. That actually you can limit the sort of type of person that you want. It's not just, so you can pick the sort of criteria for your child. And there is this question about designer babies, which comes up when you're facing with this thing. Should you be able to pick the characteristics of your child? And I think, you know, it's a difficult area. I think I wouldn't want to limit people's choice and people's opportunities to do that. And there's definitely limits to what I would want. You know, I don't think you should be able to necessarily pick your child to the nth degree, but it's interesting what options are available within IVF.
Okay, Sally, well, we'll talk to you a bit later on, because I know you've got some other stories for us.
Now, the